stole my heart when we met. You made me feel so alive. We could talk.
Welcome, everyone. Yes, it is another episode of Listen to the Vibes, and I'm so privileged to be sitting here talking to Mr. Chris St. John. He is a wonderful human being. We've had such a great conversation before the show started, and I mean, we got a lot of stuff in common. Unfortunately, he's stuck up in New York. We got to get him here to Texas. How you doing, Mr. St. John?
I'm doing well. I'm ready to come to Texas. We had a good conversation.
Well, I'm gonna take you out for barbecue as soon as you get here.
Okay, I'm coming.
No better place than Texas. But as I was telling you, people they really want to know who I'm talking to. So tell us about where you're from, where you grew up, all the things that you've been doing all these years, and how you got to where you're at right now. So I'm gonna leave it to you.
I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version. I grew up in Bayport on Long Island to a modest middle-income family, and I worked a lot of jobs and paid my way through college and law school, and got married, had a son. And in the interim, I had done an internship in the State Department. I worked at the Reagan-Gorbachev Summit. I studied and taught in China for a semester. I worked for a congressman for about 4 years. And then I went back to law school, and I opened my practice, hung out a shingle, and now we have 4 attorneys and 4 staffers. And so we've grown that business over the last 26 years. I was a judge for 12 years and a prosecutor for 4. But I followed my passion, and now I'm making music.
And you're a man of many hats.
Well, I want to live life to the fullest, and as we talked before, I had at one point a near-death experience, and ever since then, I sort of felt like not afraid to go after anything.
Well, what I like is when people just seem to reinvent themselves and try to make something out of their life to make a better place, to make it interesting, just to do the things that you like to do. And you've been doing all these things, and now you put out an album. I got to listen to it before the show, and I mean, you have a great voice.
Thank you.
The instrumentation I just love. And I mean, how did you find out that you had this talent, for one, and to actually go for it?
I was a music lover since I was 5. I was hooked on the Beatles, and I started writing songs at 7. I didn't write anything serious till I got a guitar at around 14, and I was self-taught. I always had a voice that was just naturally sort of soothing and also emotive. It sort of I think it lets the listener know what I'm feeling inside, and that's a God-given gift that I have.
Yes.
I wasn't classically trained to sing, and I have the ability to take the things I'm feeling and the events that are going through, and to put them to a song. And that's the real gift that I've been given, to be able to do that. This album is autobiographical. It talks about, the good times and the bad. It talks about the death of my parents, DNA discovery that I came across is in one of the songs, my near-death experience. It talks about, loss and love. And even though parts of it might sound sorrowful, the chords that I chose and the message that I always end on is hope and perseverance. And I don't think I've written a sad song that doesn't end up there.
You got a Grateful Dead song on there too, right?
Yeah, well, that's actually, I think it's an old Scottish traditional song, but Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead made it quite famous. I don't know why I decided to put that on the album. We did a cover of Ripple, and I think in order to put out that on an album, I'd have to go through hoops to talk to 2 estates. Hunter and Garcia. So I put this traditional song on. I like the way that I could pick that song. I played that myself, the guitar on that, and I love the song. It tells a great story, and I love to sing it. So
Oh,
we
it's
said
beautiful.
put it on there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You did a great job on that. Um, I will say we both have a talent when it comes to music. You have a voice that will fill a room. I have a voice that will clear a room.
Uh, I'm sure you can sing a little bit.
In the shower, but that's about as far as my concert going goes.
Okay.
But you know what I appreciate about you is number one, you're very charitable. Number two, your love of God, love of country, and it's nice to see somebody with your faith and your love that's making a difference in this world. I definitely want to hear about your charity, and
Yeah.
we will
Thanks.
at we will put that in the description on how to give to the charity. So I'm gonna let you
Well,
go.
let me just tell you the things the way that I am is not by accident. I had two of the best parents that any boy could ever ask for. My father fought in World War II and taught me how to love my country and to love God with my mother. Um, their names were Harold and Loretta, and so there came a point in time in my life where I wanted to give back to other kids, and to the extreme poor, those without a chance. And I thought, well, I can't raise all these kids, and most of them are in Africa, and then we've been to Central America and also to Haiti. But what I wanted to give them was an opportunity, good health, and an opportunity to get an education. So our first couple of trips um, were to Zambia, where we would go out into the bush. We'd drive 5 hours in the middle of nowhere, where all these kids lived alone, with just a few village elders who survived the AIDS epidemic. And they would just come from miles around. We treated them for all kinds of maladies, and we gave them dental care, the first dentist they'd ever seen. We tested them for malaria, treated them for malaria. Um, we expanded our efforts to bring some doctors from Argentina to do cataract surgeries for the older folks who couldn't see anymore, and a general surgeon. We put in an irrigation system at one village with a cistern so they could grow their own crops. We just kept on thinking of new ideas on how we could help them. And so one of the things I think you'll find interesting is in Zambia and other countries, the kids are allowed to go to school. They have a public school, but they can't go without a school uniform.
Mm.
And they can't afford a school uniform. So we bought thousands of school uniforms and handed them out to these kids so that they could go to school. So when I look back on my life, I think that I'll be most proud of the fact that um, I did my best to help as many people as I could. And the charity is named after my parents, Harold and Loretta, Halo Missions, HA and LO. It's at www.halomissions.org for anyone who's interested. We've been to El Salvador 3 or 4 times, helping young people there in a hospital, and throughout there's a number of orphanages that we've helped quite a bit. I was speaking to one of the ladies who ran one, and so the kids didn't have milk, so I just said, well, I had an interpreter with me. I said, do you know a farmer? And he said, sure. I said, get him on the phone and ask him how much he'll sell us a cow for, and a milking cow. And he told me, and I met his price, and the next day a cow was coming onto the property, and we've since given them some pigs and goats and chickens.
Man, okay, something else that I want to bring up because there's something we both went through, uh, substance abuse and getting past that. And of course, we got to talk about your horses, man. I know you're passionate about that, so I'm gonna let you tell that story.
When I was younger, one of the ways that I made money was being a bartender.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a bartender, you sort of pick up drinking. It's part of the culture.
Yeah.
And when I went to law school and became a lawyer, there's a lot of stresses, and I got to the point where I just had enough, and gave it up. I had a 2-year-old at home, and I could never just have one. I'd say I'm going to have one tonight, and I'd go home and have 3, 4, or 5, and I just said I'm not going to live life like this. So I prayed on it, and I went to some meetings and got sober, and it changed my life. I wrote a song about it on the album called "I Called You Rose." I wrote it while we were recording the album. Most people think it's a love song, but it's about quitting drinking. I called you rose, I called you gold, I called you whiskey, I called you my friend. You made me happy till you made me cry. Pray I'll never see you again. It's about booze, and so yeah, that was a big turning point in my life. I thank God for that. The horse story. During COVID, there was a time I was in a bad frame of mind. I had laid off 7 employees, and I kept their health coverage because I wanted them back. But it was a tough time, and I told my wife I need some time to clear my head, and so I went on a cattle roundup. I had found a love for horses out in Jackson Hole at one point, and I went on a cattle roundup to Bighorn Mountain. It was a real cattle roundup, and there were 5 of us, 12 hours a day in the saddle, punching 650 cattle down Bighorn Mountain for 6 nights and 7 days. And the 3rd horse I rode, I just fell in love with him, and I named him Reagan after President Reagan. And I brought him. I got a deal with the rancher, and I sent him home. And he's just what the doctor ordered. I mean, if you're around horses and you love them, they're very relaxing, and they bring so much joy to your life. It was like it's a gift, another gift that God gave.
Oh, I miss being able to ride horses. I used to do that when I was a kid, and it was so much fun. But you were talking about rustling the cattle and all that. Um, as a kid in high school, my uncle had a farm, and we would go out there sometimes like during spring break and whatever. And I mean, my cousin and I, we worked our tails off out there, but that was some of the best times I ever had. I don't know if it was just because you were accomplishing something, you're getting your hands dirty, you were out in the open. It was just something about that.
Yeah, it's all part of the package, but it starts with the horse. I mean, a horse is one of the greatest creatures on earth, that all different personalities. And when things are going right the way they should, the rider and the horse are at one being, and you're connected. I came home. I wrote a song called "I Need a Horse," and I had it produced, and I loved the way it came out. So I kept going and wrote the album. I had old songs I'd written, put it together. But without my horse, there'd be no album. So kudos to Reagan. And but I think that there's just nothing like a horse. I tell my wife I'm a cowboy. I bought some cowboy boots and a hat. She says, "You're not a cowboy. You're from New York." And I said, "Look, I've been on a cattle roundup. I own a horse, and I've been thrown off a horse. I'm a cowboy." So I'm probably one of the few New York cowboys, but I believe I am.
Oh, well, maybe not in Long Island, but New York, they've got their cattle ranches, they've got their farms and stuff.
They do indeed, yeah.
There is some beautiful land in certain parts of New York, but
yeah, that's for sure.
Everybody always associates New York City as being all of New York, and it's just not that way.
No, no, there's some beautiful places upstate.
Oh, yes. So, you planning on going on tour?
Well, we've been climbing the charts. Luckily, I Called You Rose went to number 3 on the indie charts in Europe and number 8 worldwide. And second release, I'd Send You My Heart, in 2 weeks, shot from number 47 down to 11. So seems like whatever we're putting out, people are responding to. We have a few country songs on the album we want to put out. And there are other singles as well. I think there's about 6 singles on the album out of 15 that I think you could consider singles. We want to see where we get the most response and then go there to play. We have a band we put together. We've been doing video performances, live performances of the songs that are on the album. They're going up one at a time on my webpage, www.chrisstjohn.com. Those are free to look at. You can buy my album or digitally, or the real CD, or any of the shirts and hats that are up there, and jackets. But it's been quite a ride. I think we'll tour when we know who wants to hear us the most, where that is, whether it's Europe or somewhere else.
And I can say I knew him when.
Yeah. Let's hope so.
Well,
I'm comfortable wherever this takes me, to tell you the truth.
yeah.
I've accomplished. I've been able to do what I truly love, and that's a gift in and of itself. Wherever it goes from here, I'm quite happy with.
I mean, my own personal experience doing the podcast, even if there was just one person out there that listened to me, it still would make me feel good. I'm going to do this whether I'm successful or not. But when you're getting the success, let's put it this way, whenever I have guests on that, they've got some fame to them, it's exciting for me, and I get a kind of a rush out of it. Now, granted, I come down pretty quickly because, reality sets in, but when you're starting to get fame like you do, what's that feeling like for you?
I haven't really thought about that question. I don't have people stopping me in the street quite yet, but it's not fame I'm looking for. I want people to enjoy the songs I've written. I want them to hopefully have it impact their life the same way music impacted my life growing up. I mean, you listen to a song, and if it touches you, then that's all I'm really hoping for. Fame is a double-edged sword. I'm not sure, for some people it works quite well, and for others that don't know how to handle it, it doesn't. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm just looking to sing my music and write songs and see what happens. In terms of you reaching viewers, I don't doubt that you'll be successful because you're very easy to talk.
Thank you.
It's a nice give and take. And not all interviewers are good as good at it as you.
Oh, thank you. Well, one of the things I pride myself in is I see a lot of people try to go for that gotcha kind of thing when they're talking to people, and I don't believe in ambushing people like that. I want this to be one of those places you can go to and you can speak your mind, be yourself, and it should be enjoyable not only for the viewers but for whoever I'm talking to. So that's the direction that I'm going in. But I was going to tell you, you remember Starsky and Hutch, and I can't remember the guy's name but one of them was a singer, and when he started singing, he wore a mask so nobody knew who he was. Or you could put on the makeup like Kiss.
I play without a cowboy hat. I think it's a little too much for me to pull off, but I do wear them when I'm riding. I do put on a bolo tie because I like it, and a pair of cowboy boots when I play. We just have a lot of fun. The band we put together is a great group of people, very talented, and we all get along. And we really make a tight unit in terms of the music that we put out together, and we like each other, which is really it's very important.
Oh, very, very, yes. So what we need to do is get you a Tractor Supply cap, so you can wear that.
Okay.
I don't know. Do y'all have Tractor Supply Company up there in New York?
We do. Yeah, we do.
I
I
love
believe
that
it.
place. I love that better than Walmart.
Yeah, it's a great store. Last time I was there, I had a long wait, but it's a great store.
So, I was gonna ask you, do you have like plans to go beyond the music, do something different, or is this kind of what you want to do until you're just ready to retire?
Well, I became a firefighter at 49. It's the
Hmm.
oldest in my class by far. And what you mentioned before about reinventing yourself, I think that if you don't do that, you're really cheating yourself. We've only got such a short time here. And, when you're 20, you think life's going to go on forever, and
Hmm.
nobody that you love is going to leave the planet. And as you get older, you start to realize all of a sudden life is slipping by so quickly and faster the older you get. I don't want to be cheated out of 1 minute, so I can't tell you what I'm going to be doing a year or 5 years from now. I probably will be doing something unexpected. As I said to you in the pre-interview, the idea that if someone told me I was going to own a horse 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I'd say you're crazy. But um, I do, and I love them.
Well, look at Garth Brooks. It was late in life when he got started, and boom, he was a superstar. And I mean, you may be the next Garth Brooks.
Well, we'll see. That would be a pleasant surprise.
So the next time I go to the pool hall, I'm gonna be hearing your songs on the jukebox.
Yeah, I hope so. Hope so. One of the things about the album, I think, is that it's quite diverse. If you heard it, it's got a few sort of country sounding songs on there, country and western. Um, it's got some psychedelic music. It's got some pop, some soft rock. Um, there's all kinds of instrumentations that I chose with my producer, Mike, from Young Street Studios, Mike Hogan, who did a great job in producing the album. And, I said, I want the second part of this one song to be very Beatlesque. And we chose together some really good sitar players and a composer to do a score behind it. And, there's one musical score that I wanted to be written to connect two songs of similar meaning about my mother. And so we talked to someone, and he wrote that score for us, and it came out. We didn't want him to change a thing. I mean, it starts on the last chord of the song, and it ends on the first chord of the next song, and it's just a beautiful piece. I named it Pacific Sunrise because you can't help but listen to it and just feel like you're on the sea or watching it.
Well, bands like the Beatles, the Who, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, all these guys, I think they stayed relevant for so long was because all their music didn't sound the same. They were always doing something different. Sometimes it sounded bluesy, sometimes it sounded country. There's just so much diverse music when it comes to these bands that it kept it interesting. Whereas you have these other bands, they were good, but they played the same kind of music all the time, and then it just gets boring.
Yeah, I wanted it to be an album where people who were listening to it didn't know what to expect next. Like, we don't have any idea what's coming next. And I think that we've accomplished that. A band that, you bring to my mind is the Grateful Dead. They wrote so many diverse and
Hmm.
different pieces of music from their early days when they were playing bluegrass, and they were playing acoustic sets from American Beauty to Terrapin Station, where they were playing such a different kind of music than they had before. They took a lot of chances, and when you take chances, it usually pays off. And they had an audience that was very forgiving, thankfully for them. I was part of that audience. Um, and you just waited for the big payoff. They could flub 10 songs in a row, but there was always a payoff at some point where everything connected in a way that you could hear anywhere else.
Yeah, speaking of the Grateful Dead, I mean what kept them going was their audience, because they didn't really have a big hit until A Touch of Grey came out, and that was way into their careers.
You're right. You're right. It was way into their careers, and in some ways, it started to draw people to the concerts that were looking for, a band that was going to play a bunch of hits, and they weren't really a part of the scene, and they sort of distracted from or detracted from what was going on, and there was some concerts that had to be canceled because of violence and so forth, people barging the gates and all during that time. But they made their mark, that's for sure.
Well, I could say that would be one place where I'd say drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, or don't.
You're definitely going to enjoy it when you drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Man, I could talk music all day. That's my passion. I mean, I can't play worth a darn. I'm not that great of a singer, but I still blare them out when I'm driving down the road, and I don't care who hears. Just something about music brings joy to your life, and it brings people together.
I agree with that 100%. It brings joy and it brings people together because there's a commonality there. It doesn't matter what political spectrum you come from. Music is something where everyone can meet in the middle and just enjoy what's being played. I mean, back to the Grateful Dead. I mean, you go to a show and there'd be a stockbroker on your left and someone selling hummus in the parking lot and traveling the country with the band, and everyone loved each other. And this is sort of missing from our world and our country today.
I love to watch documentaries, and there was one that was talking about the rock sound back in the 50s, and you had all these great players, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and I mean, just go on and on and on. But the best part of them, I guess, was the concert footage when they would show the auditorium, and they would have that dividing rope down the line, and you had black folks on one side, white folks on the other, and then you'd see that rope come down, and everybody come together and was dancing together, having a good time, and we need that again.
You sure do. I saw Smokey Robinson in a small venue, and it was a mixed crowd. Black and white, we were all having a good time with one another, and there was no animosity or no ill feelings. We were just there to celebrate together, and it was a great show. I mean, he's a prolific songwriter, as you know.
Yeah, well, nobody cared about your skin color when you were at a concert. You just enjoy the music. That's what brought people together.
I never really cared ever about it. I mean, I just never. I judge people for who they are.
It's amazing, that power of music and the love that people can have together because of that commonality.
Yeah, I agree with you. 100%.
Yeah, but we should stop having political rallies and more concerts.
Oh, that would be the answer to all of our problems, right? It's like, back in the 70s, you mentioned, music, late 70s, early 80s. I can't remember the year, but when Pink Floyd came out with The Wall, I remember going to the theater and everybody's minds were just blown by that album and the movie that came with it. And music can really change the world. The Beatles showed that, and so have other groups.
Oh yeah, I've got The Wall on DVD. I've got Tommy on DVD. Gosh, man, so many. I'll kind of Frank Zappa, like Baby Snakes and that kind of thing. And oh my God, I love those old. They're crazy, man. Those crazy movies.
There's no music that I really don't like from my parents' time through, the 80s. I love the Platters and all the doo-wop and, it was Elvis and all different kinds of bands, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, and all the greats. I mean, there were so many greats. Hank Williams.
Yeah.
There's too many different tremendous artists, and I think it's really important to carry those songs with us. So I try to slip in some of our sessions, some of these old songs, and when we go on tour, we won't just be playing my songs, although that'll be the focus. But I wanna make sure that some of the great art that was created before me doesn't die. So I would like to take that with me, and play some songs that people would say, "Well, who wrote that?" You know?
Well, I enjoy the jazz of like the 20s and the 30s, and then you got
Big
the
band, it's all great.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Then you got into the 40s and the 50s, that country music that came out of that time. And who's your favorite country artist?
Oh, she's
I mean, I love a bunch, but
Patsy Cline's hard to beat.
oh yeah, for me
Uh,
it's Buck Owens. He's my all-time favorite.
yeah, I was in studying in China, and one of my roommates down the hall, he kept playing Patsy Cline's greatest hits, And when I first heard it, I said, "What is that?" And then like 2 weeks later, I said, "This is the best music I've ever heard in my life." And I mean, she talk about someone who could bring you to what's into her soul and to what she was feeling when she was singing. If there's anyone who's ever been able to do it, it's her.
Oh yeah. Well, Patsy Cline did it in her day. Janis Joplin did it in her day.
Yeah, there's countless, but for me, she did a pretty good job.
I won't lie. For me, listening to those bands for the first time, your Hank Williams and Patsy Cline, I, I I liken that to when I first listened to the Beatles. These people just blew my mind. I appreciate my grandfather because he's the one that introduced me to that old country music. In fact, I've got the was it 78s and some of the 33s that he left me after he passed away. And then my cousins who were a little bit older than me got me into bands like the Beatles and the Who and Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, and it just, man, it's just something about the music. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. I'm at a loss of words when I talk about these bands because they're just so awesome.
Well, I mean, there's countless artists that have changed the world, and I think that the beautiful thing is when a song's been written that everyone can interpret in a different way, and that it can have a different meaning to them. And those songs take you back to times. I mean, if you hear a song that reminds you of when you were in high school or in middle school, or a song when you were a child and your parents were playing something on the phonograph, old music, I mean, really old music, um, songs, Come Back Nanny and Guess We Have No Bananas. I mean, these old songs, I heard them on this old uh, phonograph that my great grandmother had. And I just loved it all. I mean, Hello Dolly was, I mean, there's just so many great songs to draw from.
Oh, yeah. Well, what brings me back to my childhood is like John Denver and Jan and Dean. These were things that my mom listened to, and then my dad was into Bobby Vinton and Beach Boys and that. And so that always takes me back then. And then when I got into school, I always remember this. Every time I hear the song "Sultans of Swing" by Dire Straits, always takes me back to when I first started school.
Well, that's what music does for you. I loved John Denver, and I remember him. I was in China, and all around the school they had speakers, and the only music they played day and night, all the time, all hours of the day was John Denver, over and over, all of his music. For some reason they loved him, and that's all they played.
Well, I could say I'd rather listen to that than some of the stuff I hear nowadays.
Me too.
But even the Carpenters, man, that's another one that takes me back to my childhood.
Beautiful music. Bread, the Carpenters, that sort of genre. Um, you listen to "We've Only Just Begun," and if it doesn't bring tears to your eyes, you don't have a heart.
Hmm.
She was another one who could. Karen could sing. She just made magic with her voice.
Another thing I love about music is whatever mood I'm in, I can listen to all kinds of different stuff, and it helps me. And it doesn't matter if it's the old country or if it's, the classic rock. Sometimes I just want to listen to hard rock or heavy metal. Sometimes it's the old doo wop and the Motown, and there's always something there. You got to leave your mind open.
Sure do. Motown, another one we didn't mention. I mean, just the incredible time in America. And I think that was sort of a time when music brought Americans together, really, of all colors. And we need more of that. We need more of it.
Oh yeah. So what do you usually sing when you're just driving around?
Oh, I don't know. You know what? It's interesting. A lot of the songs that I love and the ones that I play are sad songs. And my wife's always saying, "Why do you play sad songs?" I said, "Well, they make me happy." And she said, "I don't understand." And I said, "Well, I'm not alone in this regard." And I looked it up online, and there are studies that show that sad songs do make people happy. I pointed that out to her. And Elton John said they say that sad songs say so much, right?
You were reading my mind. I was just about to say that.
But I don't know. I mean, I guess I sing whatever's playing on the radio.
My wife gets aggravated with me because every time we go on a road trip, I start playing Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons because I just love singing along to it.
It's endless. It goes on forever. The greats.
That's on my playlist. Little River Band. Oh my God, I could sit here and name stuff all day long. I won't get into that, but man, I even if I can't sing, and I tell people this, it doesn't matter if you can sing or not. If you feel like it, sing. And
You got nothing to lose.
exactly. But so, what other interests do you have? Because we could talk about music, like I said, all day long.
I love to travel quite extensively, and um, I think you grow and understand the world a lot better when you've been to a lot of places.
Mm-hmm.
Places, Asia and Egypt and Turkey and in places of all different religions. I went to an Indian wedding. Just you really come to learn that we're all just people.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned an Indian wedding. My wife has a friend from work, and he's from India, and he's getting married, and they actually asked me to perform the ceremony for him and to see everybody in the traditional garb and all that. And his wife's just, oh, it's absolutely beautiful. His wife was Hispanic, but she was dressed in the garb, and it was a magical day. I will not lie. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean when we went there, they had the elephants. It was the very very wealthy family that was my wife's boss at the time. His daughter was getting married, and it was quite a spectacle. It's a very big event in India, and it goes on for days. So
Yeah, I don't think they could get the permit for the elephant in Austin. So
either. There's probably not a lot of elephants in Austin.
probably not. But is there that one place that you want to go to you haven't gone to yet?
Oh, there's too many to mention. I mean, my favorite place that I've been to so far is probably Thailand, because you can be in a beautiful city like Bangkok and visit the temples, which are magnificent. It's called the Venice of the East because there are so many canals. And hop on a plane and be in Chiang Mai or Chiang Rai in the middle of the mountains, and really enjoy that. And then, get on a plane and be in Phuket on the most beautiful beaches you've ever seen. And the people are friendly, really friendly. And the food, if you like spicy food, it's the best.
I love
So
spicy food.
yeah, I'd like to go back.
We had a friend at church, and she was from the Philippines. And mind you, I was married to an Hispanic woman for 20 years. So I was eating jalapenos and all that stuff all the time. And she said, "Oh, you want me to cook for you?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." She says, "You like spicy?" I said, "I love spicy food." Man, that was a big mistake. I thought I'd had hot food before.
The older you get, you got to lay off of it a little more, you know?
Well,
When you-
so it's a wonder I don't have a giant hole in my stomach as hot as that was.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you one more question, and I'll let you go. But when you finally depart from this earth, what is the legacy that you want to be known for that you leave behind?
Oh, I'd like to be known as a person who really loved my God and my country, and who was a good husband and father, and who did the best he could, and who helped as many people as he could.
That's awesome, because I love the fact that you're not afraid to come out and say that you love God and you love your country. And I just wish that sentiment would go out more often.
Yeah, I tell this to people all the time. I don't know if they believe it or not, but I don't have any fear of death whatsoever.
You know?
And that's not, I've not always been that way. But I've just, there's a song on my album about a near-death experience I had. And I just, ever since that day, 15 years ago, I just I don't fear it at all. Because I know God's waiting for me.
I said I was only going to ask you one more question, but can you talk about your near-death experience?
Sure, I can. I fell off the wagon and I aspirated. I wound up in the hospital, and the odds were stacked against me totally. I mean, my organs were shutting down, and nobody thought I had a chance. And there was a prayer chain that was set up. Excuse me.
That's all right. Take a moment, man.
There was a prayer chain set up, and I came out completely fine, nothing wrong. After being in a coma for 3 days. So that's why I started my charity, and why I want to give what I have left. I don't want to leave anything on the table.
Power of prayer, man. Power of prayer. That's
The first interview got me to tear up.
usually they do that when they know they have to talk to me. So, I appreciate that, man.
I really enjoyed talking. And I'm
Thank
going to pick you up on that barbecue if we tour Texas.
Well, we'll definitely exchange information then, because you're very welcome here.
Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Thank you for opening up to us. That means a lot.
I never told that story to any other interviewer, so there you go.
Wow. Well, it's much appreciated. I think people need to hear things like that.
Thank you.
Honestly. Well, anyway, as I said, thank you. I want to thank everybody that watches our show or listens to it on the podcast. Without your support, we wouldn't be here. So until the next one. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, because it's only through your support that we're able to continue doing the things that we do. And until the next one, have a great day.